Hello friends, welcome to the platform of Purvanchal IAS. This is our course on MPPSC History of Madhya Pradesh is the topic that we have been discussing. In this session, we will be discussing about important tribal personalities of Madhya Pradesh, and this will be the last topic of the Unit 1 of MPPSC prelims syllabus that we have seen. This is session number 10. Purvanchal IAS is a venture for sustainable education by Dr. Ravi Agrahari sir and his team. For online classes, you can download our app from the Google Play Store, or you can call us on this number. And the course that we are going through right now, the first unit of the MPPSC preliminary exam syllabus, that is of history, culture and literature of Madhya Pradesh. In this, we have already discussed major events and major dynasties in the history of Madhya Pradesh, contribution of Madhya Pradesh in freedom movement, major arts and sculpture of Madhya Pradesh, major tribes and dialects of Madhya Pradesh, major festivals, folk music, folk arts, folk literature of Madhya Pradesh, and important literature of Madhya Pradesh and their literature. Okay, religious and tourist places of Madhya Pradesh, we have discussed this along with this topic number 3. Okay, and we are left with the last topic, that is important tribal personalities of Madhya Pradesh, which we will be discussing in this session. And the discussion on this, with that, our discussion on Unit 1 of MPPSC prelim syllabus will be done. So in this session, we'll be discussing about the important tribal personalities of Madhya Pradesh. Also, we will have a look at a few practice questions that can be asked. Okay, so the first tribal personality about whom we are going to discuss is Jangad Singh Sham. Okay, so Jangad Singh Sham is an artist, as you can see from the picture here. So he was born into a Pradhan Gond family in Patangad in Dindori district in 1962. Right, so he was born in a Gond family, and this actually worked in favor of him, wherein he practiced the Gond tribal painting, right? So he went through this stage wherein he practiced the Gond tribal painting, and he excelled in it in such a manner that he became the initiator of a new school of Indian art which was named after him. It was called Jangad Kalam, right? So this was a new school of Indian art in the Gond paintings which was named after him. So that was the level of his way of painting, and the primary theme of his paintings were Gond deities, which were Thakur Dev, Bada Deo, Kalsahin Devi and others, right? So these were the Gond deities, and they were painted by Jangad Singh Shah. And he also depicts cutout style of portraits of animals. So portraits of animals, cutout style, he was good at that, and he was conferred the Shikhar Samman, that is the highest civilian award bestowed by the Madhya Pradesh government. Right. So Jangad Singh Sham, he was born in Gond family, and so he learned the Gond painting, and that was so brought him so much fame that he went on to not just become the initiator of a new new school of Indian art called the Jangad Kalam, but there are many more things attached to him, wherein by the end he was conferred the Shikhar Samman. So let us have a look at a few more points on him. So his work was exhibited widely world over. Why are we calling it world over? Is because in Bhopal, Delhi, even Tokyo and New York also his works were exhibited. Not just exhibited, he moved into these exhibitions of magicians de la Terre in Paris in 1989. Also, the other masters curated by Jyotindra Jain at the Crafts Museum in New Delhi are his notable exhibitions. But the most notable of all is his 1988 piece, which is the landscape with the spider. It sold for around 31,250 US dollars, right, at New York. And that was something which was a first for an Adivasi artist. So an Adivasi artist selling the masterpiece for these many US dollars is something that is remarkable, and that is the reason for his fame. And also he has painted the interiors of the Legislative Assembly of Madhya Pradesh, the Vidhan Bhavan, and the dome of Bhopal's Bharat Bhavan. So Bharat Bhavan is a prestigious museum of tribal and contemporary Indian art. So he has painted the dome of it. Also, he was amongst one of the first Gond artists who began using paper and canvas. So, generally, the tribal art is made on the ceiling or on the four walls, or outside or inside. But obviously, that was there. He began painting on paper and canvas, and not just him, a few others also. So he was one of them who began painting on paper and canvas, and he went on to develop it in such a manner that he could develop his own school, as we have discussed, of painting, which was called the Jangad Kalam, right? So this is about Jangad Singh Shyam, and we have seen how he has become famous because of his beautiful art. Okay, so the next important tribal personality about whom we need to discuss is Sangram Shah. So Sangram Shah, he was a king of Garha kingdom of Gondwana, which is a Gond state of Madhya Pradesh. Okay, so he was the king of the Garha kingdom, and Sangram Shah ruled there from 1482 to 1532. He titled himself as Sangram Shah, and Sangram Shah himself belonged to the Rajgond dynasty of the central India and was the 48th ruler of the Gond dynasty, succeeded his father Arjan Singh. So he succeeded his father Arjan Singh, and he himself was a king of Garha kingdom of Gondwana region. So he belongs to Rajgond dynasty, and he is considered to be a patron of arts and literature himself, and he himself also had great knowledge of Sanskrit. So Rasrat Mala Rasratna Mala was written by him in Sanskrit. Okay, so Sangram Shah himself was really famous for being a big patron of art and literature, and his knowledge of Sanskrit made him write Rasratna Mala. Right. Then let us talk a little about the Garha Katanga kingdom, and the first Gond king of Garha Mandla was Jadurai, and he became king after disposing Kalchuri Rajput of Garha Mandla. Right, so Garha Mandla kingdom, this was earlier a small territory which witnessed great rapid expansion. It was not just great but rapid expansion under Sangram Shah, who was the 48th king himself, and he captured territories like Narmada Valley, Bhopal, Sagar, Damoh, and most of the Satpura hills. Okay, so Garha Mandla king's rule ended later on when Asaf Khan I, who was the Mughal viceroy, invaded the kingdom in 1564. So Garha Katanga, the first king was Jadurai, and he disposed Kalchuri Rajput of Garha Mandla, and here great expansion was seen under Sangram Shah, who was the 48th king. So this expansion went on till Narmada Valley, Bhopal, Sagar, Damoh, all of that, and the king's rule ended when Asaf Khan I, the Mughal viceroy, invaded the kingdom in 1564. Right. So also the Gond queen Rani Durgavati is said to have fought bravely against King Akbar to save her kingdom here. Okay, so she was also the queen of Garha, and Rani Durgavati, if we talk about her, she fought in the Battle of Narai of 1564 against Asaf Khan, and Asaf Khan also fought against Reva's king Ramachandra's army, and along with this Reva's king Ramachandra, the army attacked this Rani, and in the fight itself, the queen died while fighting bravely. We can say she was martyred, and she fought bravely against Asaf Khan, but she was martyred on the battlefield. Okay, so that was about Rani Durgavati and the Garhakatanga kingdom. Right. So here we have the next tribal personality, that is Raja Naresh Chandra Singh. He was the ruler of Sarangarh princely state. Okay, so he was the ruler of Sarangarh princely state in Rajgarh, Chhattisgarh, and later on he was made the chief minister of the undivided Madhya Pradesh. Okay, so he also became the chief minister of the undivided Madhya Pradesh. In Sarangarh Assembly in 1951-57 election, and Pusor Assembly in 1962-67, he himself represented these assemblies. And he was also made a cabinet minister in 1952 in Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla's ministry. He was made the first minister for tribal welfare in Madhya Pradesh in 1955. Okay, so these were the achievements of Raja Naresh Chandra Singh. He himself was the ruler of Sarangarh princely state and Rajgarh, and which was in Chhattisgarh, and he became the chief minister of undivided Madhya Pradesh. Sarangarh Assembly, he was the representative there, and Pusor Assembly also he was the representative. He also became cabinet minister in 1952, and he was the first Minister for Tribal Welfare in Madhya Pradesh in 1955. Then the next personality is Jamunadevi. She was a resident of Kukshi in Dhar district. Okay, so Jamunadevi was a leader of Indian National Congress, and she was the first woman leader of opposition and deputy chief minister of the state. So the attributes of her include of being the first woman leader of opposition of Madhya Pradesh and the deputy chief minister of the state. Okay, so from Indian National Congress she fought, and she is herself a resident of the Dhar district and a famous tribal personality. So other famous tribal personality is Tantya Bhil. He is also called Tantya Mama, and he was a member of the Bhil tribe. Okay, so this is an Adivasi community there, as we know, in Nimad of Madhya Pradesh, and he was born in 1852 in village Veri in western Nimad area. He raised his voice also against the British rule, and that is the biggest attribute of him. And though he was regarded as a criminal as per the British accounts, for Indians he is a heroic figure. He is also called the Indian Robin Hood because of his works wherein he used to redistribute things, sort of, wherein he used to get things from, get resources from the government through all kinds of means, violent means, and then redistributed amongst the needy, okay, amongst his own people. So Tantya Bhil of the Bhil tribe, who was born in 1842 in the Veeri village in western Nimad of Madhya Pradesh, raised his voice against British and is also called Robin Hood and is a heroic figure for the Indians, right? So that is something we need to remember. Though the other tribal personality of Madhya Pradesh are Sardar Ganjan Singh Korku. So he was the leader of Goda Dongri Satyagraha, and he his acts were such that British were literally shivering in the name of revolutionary Ganjan Singh Korku. And to assist him, to be his associate, was Banjari Singh Korku, who along with Ganjan Singh Korku led Goda Dongri Satyagraha and took part in that. Okay, so these are the famous tribal personalities. Also, Virsa Gond and Jira Gond are the important tribal personalities of Madhya Pradesh. They belong to the tribes of Betul, and this tribe of Betul, led by these two, de-erected the railway track near Goda Dongri station during the Satyagraha, and also the crowd put a timber depot on fire. Right. So later on, Virsa Gond was arrested and he died in the jail. So these also have been famous for their acts in during the freedom struggle, and they have been the important tribal personalities of Madhya Pradesh. Also, we have Dilip Singh Bhuriya, who was the resident of Jhabua district of Madhya Pradesh. He was elected to the Lok Sabha from the Ratlam Lok Sabha constituency as a member of the Congress from 1980 to 1998. So he has been MP, and he has been um, appointed, he has been elected to the Lok Sabha from the Ratlam Lok Sabha constituency, and his party is the Congress from 1980 to 1998, which is a great achievement. He had been the chairman of the National Commission on Scheduled Tribes, so that is a bigger achievement. So he was a resident of Jhabua district, and he has been an MP, represented Ratlam Lok Sabha constituency, and he has been a chairman of the National Commission on Scheduled Tribes. Okay, so the next personality is Kantilal Bhuriya. He was born on 1st June 1950 and is a resident again of Jhabua district. He also was a popular, he's a popular politician and a member of the Congress. Okay, and he has been elected from Jhabua assembly seat in October 2019 by election as a Congress candidate. Okay, so obviously, he also belongs to this Jhabua district, and he is a member of a Congress party and elected from the Jhabua assembly seat. He has been elected. Okay, so these were the famous and important tribal personalities of Madhya Pradesh. We have seen them. We have also seen what are their attributes, and in this way, our discussion on the first unit, wherein we have discussed the history, culture, literature, arts of Madhya Pradesh, that ends with the discussion on these important tribal personalities of Madhya Pradesh. So now let us have a look at a few practice questions. In the previous session, we have seen this question wherein Tat ki khoj, this is written by whom was the question. So the answer for that can be from Sharad Joshi, Bal Kavi, Vairagya, Makhanlal Chaturvedi, or Harishankar Parsai. So the answer is D, Harishankar Parsai, as we have seen in the previous session. Then the next question is, which among the following is not a work of Acharya Nand Dullare Vajpayee? So is it 20वीं शताब्दी, आधुनिक साहित्य, राष्ट्रीय भाषा की कुछ समस्याएं, और उत्तर रामचरित? Okay, so here, as we know, these three are the works of Acharya Nand Dulare Vajpayee. So this one is not. Okay, so please try to recall whose work is Uttar Ramcharit, as we have discussed in the previous session. So the questions of this session are, which among the following tribal personalities was treated as Indian Robin Hood in Madhya Pradesh state? Is it Kantilal Bhuriya, Dilip Singh Bhuriya, Tantya Bhil, and Virsa Gond? So we have seen already that Tantya Bhil has been treated in that way. He was from the Bhil community, tribal community, and he was involved in certain kind of redistribution, and that is why, because of which, he was called the Indian Robin Hood in Madhya Pradesh. And next question is, which among the following was the first minister for tribal welfare in Madhya Pradesh? Tantya Bhil, Rajan Naresh, Chandra Singh, Kantilal Bhuriya, or Dilip Singh Bhuriya. So you might get confused between these three names. So you need to be very clear about this. You need to remember that. Of course, these are facts, hard to remember, but you have to. So Raja Naresh Chandra Singh was appointed as the first minister for tribal welfare in Madhya Pradesh? Okay, so that is the answer. You need to remember that, and thank you, all the best with this. Our first unit has been completed, and if you have any other query, you can contact us on these numbers.